Learning to connect with and embody our higher self, which is the most authentic expression of our soul, is a process of self-discovery and self-transformation, sometimes referred to as inner alchemy. And much of modern occult theory and practice is centered on reliable ways for us to initiate and carry out this process. But the general idea is that if we become more conscious and active participants in connecting with ourselves, then we can elevate the state of our mind, body, and emotions to a point where they can serve as a clearer means of expression for the higher self. Even though we're always connected to this guiding and inspiring presence within us, we can easily disregard or misinterpret its messages if we're too distracted by negative thoughts and emotions. However, we can use tarot divination as an introspective tool similar to a Rorschach test to find and heal these points of self-denial, shame, or trauma within us, and in doing so, it should become easier to discern our most authentic aims and desires in life so we can pursue them in a more uninhibited way. This process of self-discovery typically starts with a person becoming more familiar with their own subconscious mind, which many occultists hold to be synonymous with or an intermediary for the higher self or soul. Divination by tarot and meditation are often recommended for this, as they both provide space for the subconscious mind to express itself in, but any means of introspection or self-expression that can engage both the mind and emotions may also be helpful. Each of the 22 major arcana cards of the tarot depicts a vital step in this process of becoming or re-becoming our most authentic self. Each card also represents a specific archetype within the subconscious mind and the psychological forces and processes that correspond to it. These archetypal images also signify certain elevated states of consciousness that can be utilized for the purpose of self-transformation, and some are associated with specific magical actions or meditation techniques. Every card is also assigned a certain planet or astrological sign and a letter of the Hebrew alphabet meant to relate symbolically to its main themes. As a person works with the tarot as a self-divination tool over time, they become more acquainted with their own inner world of thought and emotion, and this accomplishes nearly the same thing as a meditation routine would, with the added bonus that tarot is derived in part from Kabbalah, astrology, and picture scrying, and can therefore give a decent introduction to these topics also. By promoting a sense of inner harmony and reducing alienation towards certain archetypes within the self, working with tarot creates space within us where introspection and self-communication can happen more easily, and this builds a strong foundation for deeper meditative work later on. The cards can also help to externalize any epiphanies or breakthrough moments we may have in the process of self-integration, and this can help make them more memorable and impactful. Now let's move on to the actual cards. The Fool is the first of the major arcana cards, and it depicts the unburdened state of our mind and emotions at the beginning of our journey in life. And it's this same unburdened state that we all want to return to before passing away, which is one of the reasons why some people count the Fool also as the last card in the series. It shows the human soul free from worry or regret. Notably, however, the Fool is not completely unburdened. The bag he carries in many depictions of this card is often said to represent the karma, both good and bad, that a soul brings from past lives. If you don't believe in reincarnation, you could instead interpret the Fool's bag as symbolic of the circumstances we're born into that can either aid or impede us on our path in life. This card is a reminder that while no one in life is entirely unburdened, it's still possible for us to cultivate a sense of optimism and fulfillment despite this. The Fool also represents the part of us that has already attained a kind of enlightenment, the part of us that can, through meditation, exist as pure awareness without attachment to the worldly concerns of the conscious mind. This is one reason why the Fool is associated with the number 0, because entering this state of mind can be as easy as becoming mentally blank by stopping thought. The dominant color in this card is yellow, which further indicates that a state of mind is primarily what's being depicted here, as yellow is esoterically associated with mental activity, openness, and optimism. We also see a lot of green used to represent freshness, youth, and new opportunities for growth and learning. The colors green and red, according to tarot author Paul Foster Case, also correspond to the green chlorophyll of plants and the red blood of animals, which both are esoterically seen as sacred containers for the solar energy we're all composed of, meaning both the physical energy of the sun as well as the subtler essence of the soul. The plant and animal kingdoms, represented also by the rose and the dog, are two of the four evolutionary streams of earth in Hermetic philosophy, the other two being mineral and man, which are represented by the mountain in the background and the fool himself. The fool is commonly held as synonymous with the Jungian archetype of the inner child, and when we connect to this part of ourselves, we're meant to feel carefree, open, and unlimited, like anything is possible. Many self-integration modalities focus on healing this part of the self due to the belief that it is closest in nature to the higher self or soul, therefore aligning with it should be the quickest way to achieve a state of authentic self-expression. If we go deeper into the symbolism of the card in relation to the higher self and esoteric cosmology, it has some additional meanings. First, it represents the pure, boundless, and radiant nature of God or source consciousness, which is represented by the blazing sun in the image and the fool's delighted expression, almost like they're smiling together. This conveys that what we experience as love or bliss, the highest state of mind and emotion available to us, is approximately the same feeling state or essential signature as the underlying true nature of reality. And God or source is this true reality, the pure consciousness or mind substance from which all things originate. This primordial essence, a something that is paradoxically both nothing and everything, has been called cosmic root substance by Rosicrucian teachings, prima materia in alchemical terms, limitless light or Ein Sof by Kabbalists, and infinite living mind by the authors of the Kybalion. The Fool represents this pure consciousness that is the underlying true reality of everything, and we experience this true reality when we have no resistance to it, or most easily when we have no thought, as negative thoughts are the main cause of resistance to our own natural state of alignment with self. In other words, the simple truth we see in this card is that the happier and freer we are mentally, the closer we come to embodying the true nature of God, which we can experience as a sense of elation, transcendent love, or deep inner harmony. This card's image also conveys that, esoterically speaking, the consciousness and energy of each human soul and of every life form is ultimately an extension of this higher being, or underlying reality, of God or source, whose most unlimited expression is referred to as the All or the Absolute in Rosicrucian and Hermetic teachings. This relationship between the Godhead and human consciousness is also indicated by the Fool's staff, which is positioned like a connecting line extending from the sun through the Fool's head. And I take this as symbolic of divine or unlimited consciousness projecting itself into a limited human form, macrocosm to microcosm. It also conveys that all human activity is an extension of divine activity. Even though this card and several others are symbolically related to the sun, the planetary correspondence usually assigned to the Fool is Uranus, which is astrologically associated with innovation and scientific breakthroughs, rapid change and expansion, initiation and magic, liberation, and the archetypal forces within humanity. The Hebrew letter assigned to the Fool is Aleph, which means ox, a castrated bull often used for agricultural labor. In this context, it seems the ox is meant to symbolize fertility, hard work, simple-mindedness, purification processes, and the idea of taming one's lower nature. The path on the tree of life associated with the Fool runs between Kether, crown, and Chokmah, wisdom, that is, between the realm of formless divine consciousness and the first realm of manifested or human subconsciousness. I take this relation as symbolic of the occult belief that all wisdom manifested by human cognition is an outpouring of divine intelligence that is received by the subconscious mind and understood fully only after the restrictive nature of the conscious mind, represented by Binna or understanding, refines and interprets it. There are many other interpretations you could draw from this correspondence, but I mainly take it to signify that a state of non-resistance or bliss brings us closest to experiencing the divinity within us and the true divine nature of reality. The white dog following along in this card symbolizes the higher self, the guiding presence of our soul that works constantly to provide us with information and inspiration through our thoughts, emotions, and bodily sensations, or sometimes through other signs and synchronicities. The white dog and white flower that the Fool holds can also symbolize a pure astral or mental body, which is the result of a clear mind and a lack of worldly desire or attachment. We can tell that the Fool and his higher self, the dog, are emotionally in tune here, as they both look pretty happy, and this actually shows an important key to connecting with our higher self. A degree of synchronization has to occur between us and our higher self for there to be clear communication, and this can sometimes be as easy as staying in a good mood and pursuing what we love. But practically speaking, life tends to throw a lot of trauma and other challenges in our way that makes this a bit more difficult. So, like I said in the intro, we often have a lot of healing and introspection to do before we can express ourselves authentically in the energy of this archetype. In any case, the openness and optimism displayed by the Fool here are an important first step towards approaching life in a way that can help us remain young at heart. Even if bad things happen to us along the way, the Fool is a reminder that the potential for a fresh start, and for us to become something new and different, is always there if we can release some of our mental burdens and open up to embrace new possibilities, even if only in our imaginations at first. Taking a leap of faith into the unknown with full trust that something good, or at least educational, must come of it, and that everything will be okay no matter what happens, is one of the acts of mental magic that the Fool symbolizes. This sort of faith starts to become a feeling-based reality when we can identify more with the eternal aspect of our being, with the calm awareness within that exists beyond any sense of separateness or time, and with the voice of our soul that lives in our hearts. The tricky part is that identifying with this part of us feels the same as identifying with nothing at all. If you like this video, please consider subscribing so you can stick around for my next one, where we will probably cover the Magician card. Thanks.